Welcome to the FMCG Guys podcast. I'm Daniel here live in London, where I'm here meeting several friends, brands, retailers, you name it. And I'm here at the headquarters of Proper Snacks with their CMO, Sandie Dilger. Thanks for sitting with me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Is it Dilger or Dilger?
Dilger.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it
although
wrong at the beginning already.
I think maybe Dilger in Germany, I don't know. But,
Yeah, you probably get called that every now and then.
Yeah, I do.
I'm very happy to be here because I was thinking as I was coming, is there anything more British than snacking?
Yeah, it's true. I feel like snacking's like a national pastime, isn't it? And a national talking point. You only have to make a sort of controversial statement about snacking, like how you should eat your chips or which way around you should eat your biscuit or whatever, and it ends up on the front of the tabloid newspaper. There's a real pastime in it.
Because I'm from Barcelona. I didn't know knew that. And we Catalans are we've changed a little bit with tapas coming in, because tapas aren't from Barcelona, they're from the rest of Spain. But traditionally the Catalans, we like to sit down on a table for at least an hour when we eat, even if it's during our workday. So snacking isn't as big as here, which here, Brits and Irish as well, they snack a lot. Yeah. So yeah, very interesting.
Although that's one of the things that we're starting to see is a real blurring of the lines between snacking and meals. And one of the things, so I'll talk to you a bit about our Eat Real brand, which is all about bringing real food values to snacks. And one of the things that we see with that is actually it being used at meal times, and people are sort of really pimping their snacks and sort of elevating them by putting olives on them or Parma ham or things you might find a little bit more of in Catalan, turning them into a tapas type plate. So we're seeing lots of blurring of the lines of I guess it used to be crisps were definitely a snack. Yeah. And then real food was real food, but actually a real blurring of that.
Because, for us, for example, when you go to have a snack in a bar, you have these on a stick.
Pinchos things.
Yeah, you have pinchos, or you have an olive, an anchovy, and a gherkin. Yeah. For example, right? That's super typical.
So now people are mixing their olives, their anchovies, and their gherkins with their crisps.
Exactly. And since I'm here in the headquarters, by the way, if anyone's listening to this, they can also watch it on YouTube. I always have to make so we traditionally were audio only, but now as we are traveling more and more, I do more in video. So I let the audience know that they can also watch us. Link in the show notes.
Excellent. You can see our lovely pasta.
Exactly. And we have snacks on the table even. I was going to ask you first if you could tell me a bit about the company Proper Snacks, because I think it's very well known in the UK. At least I asked a couple of people I was having meetings with before if they knew you guys, and they did. So yeah, but maybe not so much in Europe. So
Proper Snacks, we're the fifth biggest snacking company in the UK now, after some of the very big players like PepsiCo, Calanova, etc. And the fastest growing major snacking brand in the UK as well. We are about sort of 15 years old in the various different iterations. Started as Proper, a Proper Core, and then we've merged with an additional brand, Eat Real. We were called Warp Snacks for a while, and then last year we rebranded to Proper Snacks, which is really sort of showing that we're taking our name from our parent brand, which is Proper. So I think a lot of people know us as Proper, which was why the previous naming felt quite odd.
Yeah, you leverage the name of the brand that's most famous.
Exactly. And I think there's a bigger ethos to it around the way that we do business more broadly, we do things correctly, properly across all of our snacking brands, and there's a real sort of commonality to it. But yeah, we are, as I said, the fastest growing brand in the UK, and really sort of enjoying quite a halcyon period of good growth. We own two major brands, so Proper, which is both Proper chips, corn, and also now Crunch, which is our latest platform that we've launched. So Crunch corn, which comes from Spain, and then we also have Eat Real, as I said, which is traditionally a brand that's out in the free from aisle, so a gluten-free brand. but it is sort of growing outside of the free from aisle, and that's the run that I talked about around being
growing out of that.
Out of free from. So there's a specific aisle in a UK supermarket which is around if you have an allergy or are looking for like particularly healthy products, you go down the free from aisle. I don't know what it's called in other places. You go down the free from aisle, and that's where you would find Eat Real traditionally. But it's now sort of breaking out of that because, as I talked about, we're on a mission to bring real food values to snacks. And that seems like a much broader, sort of more mainstream appeal than just free from snacker.
Yeah. So the thing about snacking, like everybody does it so much.
Everybody does it.
But the problem with snacking is that it's just like associated with, and it's not a cliche, it's real, with just like unhealthiness, basically.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
That's the same in Spain, by the way. Like we have like a snack before lunch sometimes, and yeah, it's not the most healthy.
Yeah, so we talk about reinventing snacking as an act of positive well-being. And there is a genuine belief in this business that snacking is a positive act of well-being and should be seen as a positive act of well-being. It gives you a sort of micro moment in your day. It changes your mood. And the way that we design our snacks is to give you a sort of total snacking experience that isn't just that consumption moment, which might leave you feeling a bit sluggish or feeling a bit bad. It's absolutely considering the total experience, the before, during and after, how you feel when you see the packs, how you feel when you open the packs, how you feel when you eat, and how you feel after you eat. Because we believe that, we should see snacking as a total experience that should be enjoyed, and it should be seen as a sort of act of well-being or an act of self-care. And it's something to be celebrated rather than to hide behind. And I think historically the reason that we've maybe felt bad about it is a couple of reasons. Like one is there are lots of products out there that, let's face it, aren't good for you that people snack on, and that do leave them feeling kind of with a bit of a snack over, sometimes we call it.
Or if not, it also has like consequences for your health that kind of build up, right?
Exactly.
These are like the silent things that...
Exactly. And then I think there hasn't necessarily always been brands that people feel really proud to be seen with in the snacking industry. It's like this kind of like squirrel it away in your handbag, like hide that you're snacking because it shows a loss of control.
It's been very linked with indulgence, like
exactly.
cheat meal kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think, look, the main driver of snacking is absolutely always going to be taste. That's why people snack. That's why people want to snack. But our foundations are absolutely as a healthier snacking brand. And I think what we're really seeing is the appetite now for that to be a very mainstream play. And for it not to simply be a sort of area of the store that was the like better for you area of the store, but actually like who doesn't want to make choices that feel like they're a little bit better for them across their day-to-day, across their week-to-week, across the way that they live. And so what we're seeing is that's becoming a mainstream concern and a mainstream pursuit. And we're really reaping the benefits of it because I think as a brand, particularly in Proper, but what we've always done is done this sort of health without the halo, if you like, which is like we've come from a place of being a healthier snack, but something that you really enjoy and really find enjoyment in through the vibrancy of the colours, the vibrancy and the like depth of the flavour.
Like you don't advertise yourselves as you wouldn't say necessarily it's a better for you proposition, right? It's based on the flavour, because that's the thing, like better for you snacks and the better for you.
Oh, immediately sounds
these,
terrible.
These like rice things that are like not tasty at all, no? Yeah,
exactly. So, as I said, taste is always going to be the primary driver. It's incredibly important to us. And the way that we sort of talk, it's really tempting, isn't it? It's like our products are high in fibre. Popcorn's actually one of the most fibrous things that you could eat, certainly in an on the go on a bag. So it's got 10 times more fibre than spinach, for example, 2.5 times more fibre than red lentils. These are my favourite popcorn like snippets and examples. It's got incredible amounts of fibre. It's really, really positive for you nutritionally. And the same with our crunch corn product that we've just launched, and that's also made from regeneratively farmed corn. It's really easy sometimes to get caught up in, yes, we've got the answer. All we need to do is just stick that all over the pack, shout it from the store, etc. But you forget that actually the reason people are having a snack is because they want to enjoy it. So it's how do you not play the game of functional one-upmanship with all of your peers, like, oh, we've got more fibre than you, or we're nutritionally better, or we're better for you. We absolutely have the ambition to be not just better for you, but better than anything. And in order to be better than anything, we need to be both like have those health claims and have those positive associations of when people are looking for more, but then really add value in terms of like that total experience in terms of how you experience the brand.
Yeah. Which is all up to you, no?
It's all up to me.
No, but it's interesting because, like, not being better for you doesn't mean that you can't be successful, right? Like we've seen brands coming in which are very unhealthy, but they still do very well. And it's because of their aura, their marketing, their flavor, you name it. You were mentioning the benefits of corn and of popcorn. What is like, why are your products better for you compared to like the traditional players in that category?
It is like a huge part of it is down to what we put into them. Popcorn is one of the most unprocessed things, healthiest things in a bag that you can eat. It's literally popped corn with some seasoning on it and some very simple seasoning with really simple ingredients. So it is an awful lot better for you. Again, crunch corn is a fried corn product that goes through minimal processing. Our proper chips are made with lentils. And again, that's a whole grain that's driving like a very significant growth in the market. So what we're seeing is that traditional potato snacks, which I guess are the traditional things that we would all associate with crisps, traditional potato snacks are pretty stagnant in the market. Alternative bases are growing at 14% in the last year. Both of our chips brands, so Eat Real is hummus, lentil, quinoa chips, and these chips in front of us here proper are made from lentil. So it is that we're driving the growth of alternative bases, driving the growth of popcorn, and really kind of driving the growth of this new base now in our crunch corn, which again is like regeneratively farmed corn, so has a sustainability claim on it as well.
Which is part of like the whole ethos of the company as well, I gather, no? Yeah,
so I mean, I think this
better for you and better for like
better for us, better for the planet. We talk an awful lot here about we create snacks with benefits, which is quite a sort of amusing way of framing it.
I like it.
But it's something that I think really resonates, which is like you should feel really good about everything that you snack on. Just because they're a snack shouldn't mean that they don't give you that positive feeling, both in terms of how you feel afterward, but what you're putting into your body. And I think what we're seeing with the rise of, like, even sitting here a year ago versus now, what we're seeing is like the rise of GLP-1s, especially in the US, and the influence that that's having.
GLP-1s, which are like...
they're like Wegovy, Ozempic, etc., like weight loss drugs. We're seeing a big increase in the uptake of that, and not just the number of people who are on them, but the influence that it's having on purchase and spending decisions. And what we're seeing is actually a really big opportunity for a brand like ourselves, which is that there's a nutrient density that people are looking for. They're kind of going, when I'm going to snack, it really needs to be worth it. And it really needs to give me something positive. So I'm looking for something that's going to do something for me rather than just entertain me or whatever, or fill me up.
Because people probably are more familiar with what fiber is now than 30 years ago.
Exactly, but it's so our products, because of their high fibreness, there's something that people can look to when they're looking for an on-the-go snack, for example. they're in that sort of mindset looking for those sort of nutrient dense meals. And yeah, we're really seeing a real rise in the understanding of fibre, which I'm like absolutely here for. I've been championing the power of fibre ever since the day I started here, because it's a really big unsung hero in the sort of nutrient world. I think we're all really familiar with the conversations that have been had about protein. Here we talk about the fact that we really believe that fibre is the new protein.
Well,
and actually, there's like a genuine, real need for it. Only 7% of adults know how much fibre they should be having. Only 4%
I have no clue.
Only 30 grams. Only 4%
Okay.
of only 4% a day around. Only 4% of adults are actually getting it. And we're seeing this
only
trend.
40%, only 4% of adults are getting the right
amount of fibre.
Guessing or getting?
Yeah, getting the right amount on a day-to-day basis. So we're all like massively under fibered in the
crazy.
way. And what we saw is this this started sort of last year, like lots and lots of views on TikTok around fibre maxing, which is basically a trend that started there, which is all about how you maximize the fibre in your diet. And it's something that we've really joined the conversation of now, really showing people that actually popcorn in particular is one of the best things you can have to fibre max your diet. So we're live in store at the moment with a big sort of campaign around fibre maxing your snacks across our crunch and our our popcorn.
That's
products.
what I was going to ask you, because looking at the packaging that you have here, like as I said, it feels like a normal snack in inverted commas. Like it's cool, it's attractive. No, it conveys like taste. Especially, how do you, because that's the thing, I don't live here, because probably if I lived here I would know this, but how do you as like the CMO, how do you like, once somebody purchases this and likes it, how do you like let them know that it's actually better for them and that it has like the fibre, etc.?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like there's like flashes on the front of our pack and there's like a detailed story on the back of pack and things like that. And again, that's what I'm saying is like the temptation sometimes is like to scream it from the rooftops, but actually that we know, like we really know, you know, we want people to really see the appeal in the brand, look at our packs and go, yes, I want to pick that up. Yes, I'm actually proud to bring it to my friend's house when I'm going over to watch a movie or whatever it is, because it's sort of saying something about me. And a huge amount of that comes from design, aesthetic, and really making sure that we're like appealing to the consumer. So that is first and foremost what we talk about. Is we've had in-house creative since the very beginning. I guess you talk to a lot of CMOs now who say, oh yeah, we have an in-house creative team. But I would say we had in-house creative before it was like an efficiency driver or anything like that. And we have genuinely built the brands from the creative team up. That creative team absolutely pride themselves on being extremely focused on what's happening in as much in fashion, lifestyle, well-being, beauty as in other FMCG brands. And I think that is part of our secret sauce as a business, is that sort of in-house creativity and the outside-in outlook that it gives us. We always talk about being inspired by fashion and beauty. When we first started, Proper was the official snack of London Fashion Week, for example, those kinds of things where we were as much inspired by that. And actually our founder, Cassandra, talks about when she first started the brand, she never followed the competition, because almost like the second that you start following them, you start doing things that they would do. But actually really making sure that we kept that outside-in perspective. And that, I think, is a huge part of why I'm here in the role. I don't have a traditional...
Yeah, what's your background?
Yeah, so I don't have a traditional FMCG of like marketing background. I know they do. What are they thinking?
It's possible.
So I started on a grad scheme at Cadbury, which later became Mondelez. So I did spend some time there. So I had some of that kind of like blue chip piece. And at the time that I was there, again, it was Cadbury in the UK, but we were doing like amazing things. I think probably known to be one of the more creatively driven sort of brands at the time in the market, drumming gorillas and dancing eyebrows and all kinds of fun and games like that. And I saw the impact that creativity can have on a business then. And I was like hooked on it. I was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And I want to go and do it for more companies. And I absolutely loved seeing the power of a really great creative idea just like impact the entire of an organization.
So you actually are a marketer that like the creative piece, because you know what happens a lot of times? That marketers just become very bureaucratic and very numbers driven, which is fine. But I think they forget this cultural
this secret sauce
right?
of,
become so internally focused,
exactly.
so industry focused.
Yeah, exactly. What are the competition doing? What are the numbers doing? What's happening in store? So I am very much not that kind of a marketer. So I then left, went to agency side, spent a very long time of my career, I'm trying to think how many years, more than a decade, in creative agency strategy side.
Where you see...
where you get to do it on
the industries.
You get to do it across multiple categories, multiple brands, multiple markets, working with a huge variety of different people, different clients, etc., on different brand problems. I would say I always kept a thread of FMCG. I'm generally very interested in like food and drink. So I worked on brands like McVitie's, brands like Sip Smith, brands like Amstel, like lots and lots of like food and drink brands, which I really, really enjoyed. And I think there was almost this like, oh, Sandie's worked in a FMCG marketing company, she can come and like work on your bit of business. And it always really helped me because I had that empathy for my clients. And it was great because I got to do it more and more and more. It's like be part of how do you give a company a creative idea that can, again, make marketing, sort of make people see the worth of marketing and see the work of creative marketing and go, wow, that's like can really drive growth into our business and can really step change like how we see things. And I loved it. And I loved the culture. I loved the pace. I loved the variety. I loved the people. It was like a really wonderful time. But after a while, I got quite like itchy feet to come back and sort of use creativity over like a broader sort of spectrum of it's not just like what you put on TV or what the advertising idea is, but how can you use creativity
to impact
the whole business. And I guess the strategist in me believed that I had absolutely the sort of potential to do that if I found the right place to come. And I feel incredibly lucky that I came here because it is a brand and a business that has creativity absolutely hardwired into it. I talked about the creative team.
When did you join the business?
18 months ago.
18 months ago. We've seen a change of trend over these 18 months. Like we had the case of Nike, for example, where they had problems and they changed the CEO, and the whole conversation was about this company who had been like amazing at storytelling, being culturally relevant and so on, had become just like a performance marketing machine. Well, who was talking about cultural relevance 18 months ago? Practically nobody. And now everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, but isn't that so...
And cultural relevance is what you're saying. Like
it's cultural relevance.
What's going on in like the other sectors, no?
It's cultural relevance. It's creativity to solve business problems. And I would say, you always take a bit of a risk and go, will I really be able to do that? Like that's what I've kind of wanted to do, etc. And I've absolutely had the license to do it here. And I think, I will never know more about FMCG marketing than some of the people that work in my team, or some of the people I work with, some of my peers who've worked in this business or other businesses for a really long time. But what I can do is bring that different perspective. And I think that's what's like really valued. So there are plenty of examples of that, for example. So I think we were already good at this. I'm not taking credit for it, but things like the way in which we show up to our customers, for example, the fact that I've worked in an agency background where you pitch a lot and you really, really think about the impact that you can have on that customer. Somebody like PepsiCo, one of our competitors, might have like 4 or 5 hours to present their brand plans to the same buyer. We're a smaller business. We've got 45 minutes. How can you have a massive impact with them? So we think about the end-to-end experience, not just for the consumer, for the customer. Like, what are we gifting? How are we using the product?
So what does it look like? How do you
it can look like quite mad, anything like the theatrics that go
because
into
normally
it.
Like when we talk about like key account management and FMCG, you imagine somebody walking up to like whatever retailer and just like presenting all the numbers and showing them how that business, that's a general narrative.
Yeah. And the feedback we get from our customers is they often say, or nearly always say, like, this is the meeting I was looking forward to the most, or I've always had so much fun in it. So we do a whole variety of things. We've brought Ed, who is our in-house chef, which is absolutely amazing. We've got an in-house chef in our office.
Is he here? Is he still
He's
here?
Not here. He's
he
was cooking lunch today. Yeah, he's absolutely amazing. Been with the company like almost since its foundation, cooks us lunch on a Tuesday and Thursday. But he also does an awful lot of the development work. So, for example, on our House Hot Sauce, which is our newest flavour that is literally just launched in Tesco, it's called House Hot Sauce because it is created in-house, i.e. we use that hot sauce on our products, on our food, and then we've just translated it onto a chip. But Ed is responsible for making House Hot Sauce. Yeah. He created like 50 different House Hot Sauce recipes. We tasted them all. It's just as well, I really like spicy food. We tasted them all, decided which one we love the best, then like used it on all our food and worked out how to translate it onto a chip flavouring. But when we were sharing it with our customers as part of like our selling season last year, we created this whole piece where he came in, talked about how he created it. He showed all his workings, his sketches, his like ideas, all of that. And it was all really sort of dramatized and brought to life. But then it was also really fun because we were having people doing shots of the House Hot Sauce and providing them with milk and rating how spicy it was and creating almost like that sort of theatre around it. So that's just one example of like bringing that creativity to a customer meeting to make it feel really memorable, because again, you only have one shot to sell it in. They're busy people. They see the bigger guys like more than we see them. And we bring that into a huge variety of other ways that we talk to our, the other ways that we sort of just behave on a day-to-day basis. So whether it's like we're talking with a new supplier, and again, we bring some kind of creativity to that in terms of like helping them really understand and live the brands. Yeah. I'm a massive believer that like the best people to sort of exemplify the brands and live the brands and sort of translate the brands into the outside world are your employees. So we put a huge amount of effort into company brand days, company days where we sort of really frame the brands, make sure that that people like really feel them and understand them, so that when they go to have a conversation with a supplier or they go to have a procurement conversation or a customer conversation, they're really, really living those brands and can very sort of easily talk about why they're so special and what makes them different and what makes them different to our competitors, and and get a sort of disproportionate share of mind in a buyer or a supplier's mind. So
it's interesting because like the big guys could do the more experiential thing as well. And it's funny how you've basically set up your role as a CMO working on the brand, but at the end of the day, you're partly doing B2B marketing as well. Because at the end of the day, showing up the negotiations in that way is B2B, right?
I've never thought about it. I've never thought about it like that. I suppose it's just like how you use how you use the brand to influence, and that just becomes like that's a really natural tendency for me, having lived in a sort of creative life and like in creative agency world. It's like, right, we've got this brand idea. How can we make sure it influences, if you're a service business, what people are saying on the end of the phone, or how we're behaving with people via the app, or how we're behaving people in various different interactions. And I think having that experience and then try to translate it into FMCG has been really helpful. So like, how do you bring creativity to sort of every facet of how the brand shows up?
I think it's not easy to do these cross industry moves, and like moving from agency to the brand, the nature of work is very different. But if you're able to have the learning capacity, the self-awareness, it's wonderful, right? When you can...
It's amazing. It's been such a brilliant learning experience for me.
You probably think of yourself a year ago to now, and you're like...
It's like night and day.
Yeah.
And that's great, isn't it? Because that's what careers are all about. It's like making sure that you're keeping on learning and keeping on challenging yourself and keeping on pushing to learn more, and also reconciling yourself to actually there's a reason, like going back to there's a reason that they hired me here, which is they want me for my creativity, my fact that I bring the outside in, my fact that I can like help create really compelling brand visions across the organization and into the consumer world. And if I'm not like intimately familiar with the details of a I don't know, a supply negotiation or whatever it might be, then that's okay because there's someone else here
that's what you have a team for.
Yeah, exactly. And there's someone else who will know more than me. And that's okay. And I think it's really rare, particularly in FMCG, people tend to move around of like, oh, I've done this at another snacking company or another sort of healthier company, and now I'm going to go and do it here and scale and scale and scale. And actually thinking, how can we sort of break the mold and really hire somebody who actually brings a completely different perspective, I think is very unusual. But I'm a massive like exponent of it. I think it's a really good thing.
I think it's a great example. And what out of curiosity, like you mentioned that in your team you have people that have been in FMCG forever here or coming from other probably blue chip companies. What type of feedback do they give you, like as a manager? Like what do you do differently?
I think it's mostly good.
In terms of like specifically, what do you do different?
I think it's that like it's that vision that I can bring in terms of like how things can be. And then also that's like that sort of what I often get the feedback is like she's just really like plugged into what's happening in the outside world and constantly inspiring us with here's what is happening in this market, or here's what is happening here, or here's I think particularly things like being really plugged into, because I'm a strategist by trade. A good example of that is that I'm pretty plugged into trends. It sort of comes quite naturally to me. It's something and so therefore being able to really be on the front foot with some of these like big changes that I've just talked about that have been happening, which people are calling like seismic changes in food, like the rise of weight loss drugs, etc. Being able to sort of see that, form a really clear perspective on it, and then bring that back into the organization in terms of how that can be a real opportunity for us, rather than feeling like, oh gosh, we're behind or it's a threat, I think is something that's really well respected.
And the fostering creativity part, the creative team that you have, how do you balance like being creative, but at the end of the day, being within a brand? Because, brands are obsessed with having KPIs for everything.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Well, I'm so I'm all about creativity, but creativity within a framework. And like, again, one of the big things, and this is the strategy brain of me, one of the big things that I did when I arrived here was like try and really codify the brands. Because
what does that mean?
So creativity, I guess, like I sort of talk about, you have to like draw the lines on the playing field, and you have to draw them quite clearly, because otherwise it could just be anything. And I think a company can spin its wheels quite quickly, being like, well, it could be that, or it could be that. It could, almost like, how do we decide what it is? And it becomes very, very opinion based. But what I did was go through like a big positioning exercise. And again, as I say, because I am a strategist by trade, I have that sort of like really reductive mindset in terms of like, let's get really clear. So that's a huge part of the work, the sort of strategy work I did when I started, was positioning for both brands. Right, we know at a corporate level, our vision is, how do we reinvent snacking as an act of positive well-being? We have two incredibly interesting ways of doing that. On Proper, we talk about designing a total snacking experience. On Eat Real, we talk about bringing real food values to snacks. Inside brackets, a sort of category where food has previously gone to die, because there's not a lot of food values. And then really, really codifying. So what does that mean in terms of design principles? What does that mean in terms of brand principles, brand worlds, that we can really coherently create?
Yeah, it's like having like, okay, this is the brand. this is what we stand for, and everything that we're going to do is going to be based on that.
Absolutely.
And these are going to be like the guardrails. No?
Yeah, and we got to two. Good, no? Yeah, we got to two brand platforms. We've got Love Food, Eat Real, and Eat Real. We've got Practice Proper Snacking on Proper, and absolutely everything that we do needs to feel coherent. So I'm a huge exponent of being coherent, but then giving yourself the freedom. I used to work with a creative who used to say, give yourself the freedom of a tight brief. And I think that is exactly what this is, which is give yourself a really tight sort of brand framework within to work. And then it becomes a really strong canvas for creativity. My favorite example of this is my favorite example. It's so small, but it's so completely separately, our office manager arranged our summer party, and I had basically no interaction with her about the organization of the summer party. She had no interaction with really anyone in my team, but she took our sort of Practice Proper Snacking campaign thought, which was very much around sort of subversing well-being tropes, and sort of having a bit of fun, because actually well-being can be we can all sort of get a little bit almost exhausted by all of the things that we're supposed to do in our wellness routine.
It's well-being for the body, but maybe for your head is terrible.
So it's sort of subversing those tropes. And she created this whole summer party that was absolutely bang on in terms of she got people there who were sort of talking to us in a rather hilarious way around, relaxing our chakras and all of those kinds of things. But it was amazing because she was just able to sort of perceive the brand and then sort of turn it into a summer party that was absolutely themed around it without really any direction from me. And again, someone I used to work with used to always say that's the strength of a brand idea, is that people know what to do when no one's watching. And I would say she's absolutely an example of that, just knew what to do when no one's watching. And you feel so proud because you're like, oh, it's working. People are really understanding what we're all about, and then being able to take it and apply it across the organization. So that was a really proud moment. Second most proud moment
is when... And you were relatively new as well.
So it was last summer. I was a year here. Yeah. And then, the other day I walked into the bathrooms and the out of order sign on the bathrooms was in our perfectly written in our brand font.
Nice.
And I was amazing. Somebody really cares. Someone's gone the extra effort to go, I'm actually going to put that into and make it a little piece of design rather than just Times New Roman it.
It reminds me of company culture, which is also something that I've seen. So my background is in recruitment, in FMCG and retail. And I've seen constantly that companies that work well are the ones that have a culture that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's pretty specific, and where people can very quickly interview someone and they're like, okay, this person is not a fit for this culture, right? So I think it's having that clarity and having a certain maybe, I don't know if rules is the right word, but do you know what I mean?
I think we have every company has values. We have 3 values, but we really live those values.
But 3 is good because it's pretty specific.
It's specific. Yeah. We really live those values. Yeah. We're really clear on our mission, as I said, to reinvent snacking as an active, positive. Well, you can see it. It's on the screen right there. It's on the screen right there. And we're a brand that's in a really big hurry. We're in a market that's not growing. We're growing 10 times as fast as the market as it stands. So we're in a hurry. And that means that we're really pacey. We're driving significant innovation, really having an impact with the innovation that we're having in the market, getting to brand ideas and execution within short spaces of time rather than pontificating over brand pyramids and things like that. So yes, there is a sort of mindset, I think, that to really thrive here you have, but it's fully about making a really big difference and growing a business and growing brands that actually feel incredibly relevant and more relevant sort of now than they ever have felt before.
So what do you look for when you're hiring people? Because I guess that you want people with marketing experience.
Yes.
But how do you make sure that they can bring things, but they can also work out here? What is the one thing you look at? And normally we would like to say that we're very sophisticated, but we can very quickly see if someone, would want to work with that person or not.
Yeah, I think it's that that like it's that mindset. And one of the values that we have is dream bigger, and I think it is that dream bigger mindset. When there is a sort of mindset of like, oh, but you're just better for you and you're not mainstream, or we've sort of like almost had a swear jar for various different words, like when people say better for you, or a swear jar when people say things like fair share. It's like, no, we don't, like, that's not how we talk here. And I think there is our founder is still present in the business. So there is a real entrepreneurial spirit that comes from her. And if she sort of sat around thinking about fair share, obviously we would never be here. So that's a very, very kind of important part of this, is like that dream bigger. And I believe that now we have like all of the fundamentals of, this is a business with brands that are absolutely perfectly placed for the future consumer. We're seeing the snacking categories in particular hemorrhaging younger consumers, like genuinely hemorrhaging, as they sort of move to a much wider variety of things to snack on, like egg pots, for example, are really having a moment. But what we're seeing is we are like the data plays out, we're a much younger, relatively more sort of affluent brand, but really over-index with that younger audience. And that's what obviously like a brand of the future needs to be doing. And this younger audience are being really underserved in snacks, both in terms of like innovation, in terms of flavor, in terms of like thinking about the brand experience, intolerant, like all of those things in terms of like what's important to them. And we're very, very focused on that. So, as I say, you want someone who comes in and sees that opportunity and sort of believes and is like, wow, I've got all of the ammunition, all of the tools to kind of go and make this great.
And how, from a marketing standpoint, like how do you compete with the big guys that have a lot of budget? Like what type of campaigns do you do?
So we don't do like big traditional campaigns.
You don't sponsor the Super Bowl?
We don't sponsor the Super Bowl. You won't find us talking about the World Cup in the summer, unfortunately. I think like with all challenger brands, there's sort of a blueprint, isn't there, in terms of it's very much about punching above our weight. I think we do manage to compete in lots of ways, though, in terms of like speed to market with things like with innovation. This Crunch Corn product, which launched towards the end of last year, was only sort of 9 months from thinking about doing it to putting it into the market. And that kind of speed of innovation. And again, I was just reading on LinkedIn this morning, somebody's really like congratulating us for the glossiness of our packs when that's not a particularly traditional thing to do in this category. Someone else, like they're talking about incredibly sort of trend-led flavors because we're launching a crispy chili oil, those kinds of things. And I think what being sort of smaller and challenger allows us to do is jump on those sort of trends to a certain extent, get there quicker. And then the comms bit becomes sort of easy, doesn't it? Because you've got something that is genuinely innovative and genuinely interesting, and you're shaping sort of a world around that.
And do you have the freedom to also be more like provocative or politically incorrect?
I think so. Yeah, if you've seen some of our campaign, you can actually sort of see it here. So we created the Crunch Wrap last year, which you can see on here, which may or may not be spoofing a certain Kardashian's body range or shapewear range. So that was like, so yes, we have quite a lot of fun with this. I think we always talk about being proper, but sort of behaving improperly. So our snacks are proper, our behavior can be improper, and it gives us like a bit more license to have fun. We know we need to sort of punch above our weight.
And the innovation in terms of like portfolio and so on, does it normally start in culture and like what's happening out there, or is that normally the process?
Yeah, I think, look, like there's a danger, isn't there, of being too trend-led, particularly when it comes to snacks and fads and like, I don't know, I'm like, buzzball shaped crisps and things like that, like could all all materialize. But I think this is the sweet spot, right, that we're trying to kind of get to, which is you hit the mainstream flavor buckets, you hit the mainstream need states of the category, but you just do so in a way that feels unique to your brand. So I talk a lot about like playing the game but bending the rules. And so, for example, last year, one of the sort of gaps in our flavor portfolio was we didn't have a cheese flavor. We didn't really have a strong dairy flavor in our chips portfolio or our corn portfolio. And when you map, you talked a bit about UK snacking, but when you map what UK snacking looks like, there is a hell of a lot of cheesy flavored crisps.
Yeah, true.
Cheese and onion, cheese and pickle, cheese and spring onion, cheese and chive. We love cheese. And I'm Irish. I think they love cheese even more in Ireland than they love it in the UK, particularly on our snacks. But we had historically never played in that space. And again, what we look at is like, that is a mainstream flavor bucket and we're not covered there. So when people are looking for that flavor, they're not going to consider proper chips. So we need to be there rather than in like very niche spaces. We need to be there, but we need to be there in a really unique way. And so we created all the cheese. So when everybody else does cheese and onion or cheese and chive, we do all the cheese. So it was a combination of 4 real cheeses on our chips, and like it tastes absolutely delicious, like really, really creamy, cheesy flavor.
It actually tastes like cheese.
It actually tastes like cheese, yeah. As a European, you're gonna like it. It actually tastes like cheese with 4 real named cheeses. Again, like the example I gave you on house hot sauce. I mean, creating a spicy chip, we are definitely not the first people to that party, right? There's like lots and lots of people out there claiming to be like flaming hot Max, all kinds of like knock your socks off heat.
Yeah.
Sometimes very disappointingly, because actually they taste nice, but they're really mild. So that was very much like the mission is like, we're not first to this party, but we've got to do so in a way that feels like really unique to Proper, which is why we've created our own hot sauce, which we're actually, as part of putting this out there, or putting the product out there, we're going to create the hot sauce and also sell it.
You're going to sell the sauce as well?
Yeah, exactly. So that's like, those are a couple of examples of where you take the sort of rules of the category, but like put them on their head and make sure that there's a twist on it that doesn't just feel like you're sort of following everyone else. I think, there's a couple of other good examples there where we wanted to launch a large bag of sweet and salty popcorn. Sweet and salty is our number 1 seller. It's worth more than £20 million. It's like an absolute powerhouse for us as a business. And it comes in a sort of normal sharing bag and a single bag, but we wanted like an extra large bag.
Yeah. Which makes sense for popcorn.
Which makes sense for popcorn, really like tapping into that sort of movie night occasion when you've got people around to share it. But again, just like a really simple thing was like we turned it on its side and like branded it on the side so it looks like a pillow, basically, and we call it our pillow pack. But it's just simple things like that of like, okay, yeah, we need a larger bag. Wow, look, everyone else does larger bags like that. Well, why don't we just turn it on the side? I think
that's such a great idea.
I'm not sure the commercial guys, they were like, you want it to be how big on the shelves? And we were like, yeah. But it's just always applying that
as well. Because you see that
it's great, lovely and big, exactly. But it just looks quite disruptive in store because people don't necessarily do it. So it's always bringing that mentality of, as I say, play the game, bend the rules. We need a larger pack. Why can't we just turn it on its side? Okay, let's do it. So that's very much the mentality that we try to bring. So it's not, I suppose, to go back to your question, it's not about always being like, oh, here's what's happening in culture, or here's what's happening in trends, because I think you could end up getting quite distracted.
You would have like extreme FOMO all the time, no?
Quite distracted, FOMO, quite niche, because, these things don't stick around sometimes for a long time. So it's very much kind of making sure that we're being really clear on what are the big occasions, what are the big moments, what are the big flavor buckets, all of those things, but how can we do so in a way that feels really unique to us? And of course is like inspired by what's happening in the world. House hot sauce, chili oil, maple bacon, etc. Like they all have a relevance.
Bacon, wow.
Maple bacon, you got to try it. My children are obsessed with maple bacon. Last night, my daughter's like, bring home the pink packet, mummy. Yeah, absolutely obsessed with maple bacon crunch corn. Found on end in a Sainsbury's near you. But yeah, it's
you'll see after this podcast comes out, you'll see the sales. The story.
And it's a really nice twist because we're known for sweet and salty, right? Like our sweet and salties, as I say, is our number one SKU. So for crunch corn, we decided to find like a twist on that sort of sweet and salty flavor bucket that. And maple bacon, so yeah, it's really delicious.
Very cool.
I'm going to rip it down now, but I ruined the display. We'll give you some.
Perfect. And what does international expansion look like for you guys?
So Proper and Eat Real, like so Proper Snacks, we have a presence in about sort of 15 markets. We have been very like intentional. We like talk about being intentional as a brand, but we've been very intentional about where we go and making sure that there's a real like opportunity for us there. We've just come off our best year yet in Benelux. In the Netherlands, we've grown over 50% last year.
Are you like, do you have an office there or do you work with distributors?
No, so we work with distributors. So we work with a distributor in Belgium, Netherlands, Ireland. We work with a company named Richmond in Ireland who really help execute the brand in a brilliant way. And that model like works very well for us. So we're sort of centrally aligned here. We have an international director who looks after the business. But there are things that we do, and actually I was just looking at it right there. There are things at the right moments we will really tailor ourselves for a particular market. So I talked about the biggest flavour bucket in the UK being cheese.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a guess of what the biggest flavour bucket in the Netherlands is?
Pickles?
Paprika.
Paprika.
Absolutely mad about paprika. If you're done.
I was going to say
herring. You get a lot of dill and like that kind of, but
right.
But we launched. So last year we launched a paprika proper chip, which is an international exclusive. So it doesn't exist in the UK. That's our first ever time that we've launched an international exclusive. It's already, I think, our number 2 SKU off the back of like 6 months of sales or something like that, and outselling our nearest competitor 2-1. Our nearest like better for you competitor 2-1 on their paprika flavour. So at the right moment, we'll tailor to those international tastes. But the brands are really like what we're seeing is they do travel well. And particularly in those like really focused markets of Ireland and Benelux. But yeah, we've had like orders just in this. I was sitting in our weekly meeting this morning, orders in this week from I think Spain, France, etc. So there is like a growing presence, but it's very intentionally done.
Do you know what they assess? Like what they look at, like when they decide to go into a market? I mean, Ireland kind of makes sense.
Ireland makes sense. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it makes sense. It's absolutely about like the competitive set. Do we think there is like a real need? Do we think that we can compete like commercially, et cetera, et cetera? So like all of the things that you would expect. And we've literally just launched into Norway as well. Because there's a real sort of potential, I think, off the back of our growth in Benelux in the Nordics. So yes, the brand absolutely can travel and travel really well.
From a marketing standpoint, do you have to dedicate a percentage of your time on those cultural nuances? So
we have someone in my team, in the brand team, who looks after international. But because of our distribution model, to be fair to them, they are also very, very good at helping us work out what's going to work in those particular markets. But yeah, I mean, like all of the work that we've done on like driving that kind of set of clarity around both brands and what they stand for applies to the markets. It's just what's the best way of like making it work executionally, but that's done very much via the distributors.
So what's next? What should we expect from Proper? And
what's next?
Couple of years?
Well, it's like it feels like it's really like innovation time at the moment, which is really good. I mean, it's like we've just come off the back of our sort of best month ever, basically in January. Wow. So everybody's really like riding high. Some of the scores that are floating around, like Proper Chips is in, I don't know, 60-something% growth in the last 4 weeks, which is absolutely amazing. So we're really seeing like very strong demand out there as we start the year. So that's great because everybody's.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, we've gone big on this Fibre piece, as I was talking about, this sort of, which I think in January is really resonating.
Yeah.
We've gone big on sort of master brand activation. So again, now that we have launched our Crunch Corn, making sure that we're sort of lining up our Crunch Corn promos with our popcorn promos, with like chips being on feature in other parts of the store, and I think it's really working from a master brand point of view. So in a really good way, I get to just say like next is more of the same because we've done loads of work with like the coherence and the brands. So it's like, how do you do that across the bits of innovation? Really drive them. Yeah, it feels like it's sort of innovation time, range reviews, things like that come up in like sort of March, April time. So we're really kind of gearing up for a couple of new bits of innovation.
Cool.
And like I genuinely unapologetically say more of the same because and there is real sort of excitement in that. I think last year when I kind of came back off my Christmas break, I had been in the business 6 months. I had sort of done all the positioning work and it was like, right, okay, we need a new campaign on Proper. We need a new platform on Eat Real. We're relaunching the entire of the Eat Real brand. We've got lots of innovation to launch on Proper. And by the way, we're changing the corporate brand as well. So I came back and was like, we've got like 3 rebrands to do in the first half of the year. And I came back this year and was like, we've done it. We've done the rebrands. We've just got to like continue to sort of stick on the course that we're on, which is really nice. And I actually find like huge excitement. There's sort of a worry, isn't there, when you, particularly from the background that I've come from, where it's like I tend to have like jumped ship to like another category and another thing by now.
To now be managing the whole, like the execution and the content and the iterations.
It's really unusual for me.
Yeah.
But it's funny, isn't it? In music, they talk about the difficult second album. I don't know if you've ever heard that sort of like, it's really difficult, the second album. And I actually really think it's the opposite in marketing. I think the more and more that you're here and the longer you sort of live with a brand positioning, a creative platform, an organization, the sort of better your execution can become and the more confident that you can become in it as well. So I think there's like loads to go for. As
like
I say,
the joy
I think
of like a small business, not that like it takes a while to get it moving, but when you get it moving and it's doing very well, like it's just like
it's momentum, isn't it? And it feels like we've got brilliant momentum. It feels like we've got great momentum. It feels like we have like struck something in the market. As I said, we're growing 10 times as fast as the market is. Some of the growth numbers that we're looking at are absolutely incredible. And so it's just like keeping going, like it's working. We're bringing in those younger consumers that I talked about having sort of left the snacking category. We're engaging with our customers more so than ever before and showing up in a sort of bigger and more impactful way. So it's just about how you like keep doing it over and over again. Don't drop a ball.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Well, I will have to follow you on the social networks as well to see what you're doing. Last question. Wouldn't be a FMCG guys episode without it. It's if you went back to yourself as you were starting to work at Cadbury, the beginning of your career, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
I think it's related to career, I guess, and it is that the power of the squiggly career. I've stolen that from fellow Marketing Academy alumni who've written a book on squiggly careers. But I think, like I'm a ambitious person, was a very ambitious 20-something, whatever, when I started off. You start looking up that ladder. When am I getting here? When am I getting here? When am I getting here? And I guess it's in combination, like careers are really, really long. And like I hope to happily work for many more years. They're really long, and actually the power of that like squiggly career, I think, and the power of like going and doing something different and sort of moving sideways to help you kind of broaden your experience and and just like broaden your horizons. And it might not mean that it's like totally clear where you're going next, but I think there's something brilliant in it. And I've always been a really big, like, I've always been a really big advocate of it, because I've never necessarily always been like the exactly perfect fit in the places I've come. So I obviously I did like 6 years or whatever in Cadbury, and I guess I was like a good fit, as in I started on the grad scheme. But then I came agency side and I was a strategist, but I was senior strategist, whatever. I'd never been a junior strategist or a midweight strategist or whatever it was. And I didn't have that like kind of had like built from the ground up in that. And now I've like come back as a CMO, and I've never been a head of brand or a brand director or any of those kinds of things. So
I think it's about embracing it as well, instead of being all like, I know it's good, but I've done different things. But I think I've done like being positive and embracing it and being very confident about it. Maybe.
Yeah, I think embracing the like breadth of experience and knowing that it's all going to help you out at some point someday. But yeah, it's very different, isn't it, from. And I'm not trying to sort of like your former career as a recruiter, but sometimes when you don't fit in like a box, it can become quite difficult. And you can have some quite difficult conversations where you can be like, oh, but I don't quite know where to place you or how to fit you in. But it only needs like one or two people to then go, do you know what, because I don't know where to place you, you're like really interesting to me. And I think like, I just want more of those people in the world. That's the way I've always recruited, both agency side and client side, which is like, it's about mindsets, attitude, learning experiences, and what you can like bring more broadly to the table. But yeah, I guess I wish as you start looking at climbing the ladder, had probably given myself that.
That's what you've done. No, it's maybe more like, you would.
It will be okay.
Yeah, exactly. You probably wish you know what you know now.
Yeah, it will be. It will be okay. And actually, there's a really nice bit in that I went and did all the things that I never felt totally encumbered by like being slavish to a career path or a career ladder. Yeah. I was like, I love this creativity thing. Oh my God, there's this like agency life where you get to go and do it for loads of clients. I'm going to go and do that for a while.
Most people would have been like terrified of doing it.
Yeah, I guess. And then I was like, oh, I'm good at this. Like people keep calling me and giving me new jobs or asking me to be promoted. So I'll just stay for a bit longer. And then I was like, oh, and suddenly now I've been here for like 10 years.
But now you're here. So there we go. Exactly. Well, thanks, Sandie.
Thank you. I'm going to make sure you go home with some maple bacon.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks for coming to London.
No, my pleasure. I come here all the time. Thanks for joining me. Thanks to all our audience for tuning in. And we'll see you in the next episode of the FMCG, guys. Have a great day.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from Dwyer Partners SL, doing business as the FMCG guys, or the individual author, host, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by Dwyer Partners SL. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Dwyer Partners SL expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we presented in this podcast.